This is a screencast talk by Mike. Uh, it's about a book that I've been writing on the topic of computer performance, sometimes called high performance computing, but it's really about all things related to the performance, scalability, availability, reliability, and efficiency of compute systems. Uh, this is going to be the first talk about it, so I'm not going to put a ton of effort into it. You can see here I kind of quickly sketched out uh, some text to show on the screen here. Uh, it's this is a book that I've been working on for a long time. I mean, I probably I probably formally decided to begin working on it approximately 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and basically just started doing early work on it, early design and research and thinking about what I wanted to do and stuff. And it's just been something I'm working on in my free time, unpaid here and there whenever I could, had the willpower and I had the time and energy to do it. Though my current goal is to finish it this year. My goal is to try to finish it by the end of 2025, by December 31st. You can see on the screen there's some contact details to kind of identify me, and also how you can contact me. Um, I've a little bit about me. I have been programming for a long time. I've basically since I was about 10 years old. I won't get into my age now, but let's just say I've been doing this for many decades, both learning and writing code and solving and shipping over and over again. And there's a lot that I love about programming and software engineering, and it's definitely shifted over time and it's evolved over time. But one of the things I've always kind of geeked out about is understanding how to make software run as efficiently as possible, how to make the computer do as give you as much value as you can for the dollar, for the time, for the amount of effort interested, for the mass, for the volume, for the amount of waste, the amount of heat generated, the amount of materials that gets put into it. That's something I've always kind of geeked out on. I was when I was younger, I was also interested in physics, and I was interested in uh, economics, and I think that uh, so, so there's something about performance which is sort of in that Venn diagram overlap uh, between programming and software engineering, and then physics and economics, right? And so there's many things I've been passionate about, but that's one area that has been particularly a strong interest to me. So I forget what it was. So how did this begin? Somewhere about 10 or 15 years ago, one of the major publishers in the computer book industry had reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in writing a book for them. They pitched a book on Python. They viewed it as something more of an introductory book to Python for people getting into Python. And this was back when you know Python was like just a language. It was like an A language. It hadn't really won out. Right now, Python is so dominant, and so it's kind of everywhere, and everyone understands its strengths. But there was a point 10 or 15 years ago where it was like, people were like, well, do I do JavaScript? Do I do Perl? Do I do Ruby? What do I do? Or do I do Java? And Python was just sort of one of those languages in that conversation. And this major publisher pitched me that they had apparently they had gotten the impression that I knew some things about Python, and then they had saw some writing of mine on technical topics and some fiction stuff, and they pitched me to write a book for them on Python. And there was a lot about their pitch that I liked, but there were things about their pitch and their terms which was not really optimal for me. I definitely I loved Python at the time, but I was afraid of getting uh, kind of oh God, what would be the word, like, typecast or stereotyped as the Python guy. And it was also his introductory. It wasn't like advanced Python. And I'd have to have a co-author, and I just felt like having. I think the idea of having a co-author is meant you have a lot less work, but to me that just felt like having a lot more work on your plate as opposed to being a sole author. And we have to kind of remotely collaborate, and the person would be on the other, kind of the far side of the planet and different time zones and stuff. And they already had a vision for the format and the outline and the creative aspects of it, and it was all great, but it was like these were all things that I had fairly strong feelings about myself, and I thought, well, if I'm going to put this much work into it, I'd really like to, be able to make it a little bit more tailored to my interests and strengths. And then even the royalty rate that they pitched to me just sounded really low. I forget what it was, like 5% or something. And I was like, so I'm going to write a book, and we're going to sell this for $100 or $50 or whatever, and I'm going to get to like 5% of that. It just seemed kind of nuts to me at the time. And I know they meant well, and the industry means well, and the publisher meant well, and everyone that was going to put work into that book deserved to get paid, obviously. So I'm not saying anything negative about that, but at the end of the day, I pretty much judge things based on my eyes and my ears, and I try to have as little cognitive dissonance as I can. And so I ended up turning down their proposal and passing on it. They went on to actually publish it. That book ended up being on bookshelves, and I had nothing to do with it. The reason I mention it is because it got me thinking about what if I were to write a book? What if I were to write a book on computers, on a technical topic, on a nonfiction topic? What would I want to write about? What could I be the most passionate about? What would I not mind having my name associated with and being typecast about? And I thought about a whole bunch of different candidate topics. And the thing I kind of settled on was performance and scalability of computers. And I like the idea of being a sole author and being able to work at my own pace and figure out my own outline and my own style, and from what the cover was going to be like, and just everything. That to me just really, really interested me. And I like the idea of getting like a much higher royalty rate too, or higher royalty rate too. That also kind of sounds kind of exciting. That sounds kind of exciting. And it was funny because the publisher even used the pitch of, well, it's not so much about the royalty rate, and it's not much how much you make on the book. It's just about getting your name out there, acting as kind of a sales lead for your career, having people learn about you and boosting your credibility. And it's not actually about making money on the book royalty itself. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because if that's true, then wouldn't I actually want to write it under conditions where I could get like 90% of the royalties or 99% of the royalties, or because in that case, if it's actually not going to sell very many copies, wouldn't I want to just go ahead and have the highest royalty rate to kind of counterbalance that? Because if it is just about establishing credibility and getting your book out there, wouldn't that be what you want to do? Man, I've already got to stop. But this was a good practice session. God damn it.